Welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show, where we help top leaders find their pathway to incredible success and a lifetime of happiness. Here is your host, Tom Dutta, the Quiet Warrior.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Quiet Warrior Show. My name is Tom Dutta. I am the Quiet Warrior and your host today. And hey, we're on live streaming across LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. And so give it a button push down there. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're catching this on there. We'll be creating this episode into a future podcast as well as the YouTube premiere video. But first, he's in the green room, and I want to tell you a little bit about our guest because today is all about Mr. Kyle Murtagh. If you're watching the live stream, you'll see on the screen there a bit about him. Otherwise, I'll just read that. I'm really excited. Kyle, in short, he's Scotland's most exciting public speaker. How did he get there? We'll find that out. In 2019, though, he founded Confidence by Design, an industry-leading presentation skills company that's really helped people from all walks to transform their public speaking abilities. I'm pretty excited about that. And his passion and hard work has led to much more, including, get this, everyone, the European champion in 2020. What? Not only that, he's also a successful author. We'll be hearing about his new book today as well, which, by the way, I checked it out. I read it, and we're going to surprise him with a review today. And so what's next for Kyle? What's his next goal? Well, as I bring guests onto the show, I sometimes, ask myself, what's the value that we're going to get out of this show? And I think today, everybody, you want to stay till the end. There'll be some surprises. And I think this one will change your life. So welcome to the show, Kyle Murtagh.
Thank you so much, Tom. It's great to be here from across the pond.
Yeah. You're in Scotland somewhere, and I'm here in Vancouver, British Columbia. And, Kyle, just think about this in the world we're in where there's so much that we need these days for happiness and connection. And here I am, and I'm able to talk to you in Scotland. In fact, are you ready for this? I want to coin the phrase, maybe Kyle will be Canada's most exciting Scottish podcast speaker.
It sounds niche, but I'm going for gold in it.
All right, man, go for gold. Hey, listen, this is really all about you. We tell stories, the hero's journey. Let's get right into it. Scotland's most exciting speaker. Okay, great, but obviously, somebody told me the other day, your mother's number one job is to pop you out, and you're on your own. Take us back to the beginning. I mean, tell us a bit about the lead up to having that inspiring thought that you want to be a speaker.
Absolutely. I probably started off as Scotland's quietest public speaker. That's probably where I began because I literally had no confidence at all. In high school, I was extremely quiet. I wasn't very good at academics at all. And I was struggling. I was just struggling in every aspect of my life. And what I actually did was I hopped onto YouTube and started looking for some inspiration there. And that's when I saw the first public speaking I'd ever seen, first proper public speaking. I started watching videos of guys like Les Brown, for example, and seeing someone be interesting and compelling when they spoke really did resonate with me a lot. It didn't inspire me to go and speak, but it inspired me to change my life a little bit and start, taking ownership for the situation I was in and try to turn things around. So I think that's where the initial seed was planted for speaking. And it wasn't until a lot later on, several years later, that I actually stood up and did it for the first time myself. But that's where it really began, I think, Tom. Seeing speakers online planted the seed for me.
Well, that's pretty amazing. And, you'll get to know my dark sense of humor a little bit. Everybody, Kyle said, I hopped on YouTube. Here in Canada, we watch YouTube. I can visualize you actually hopping on YouTube. Pretty amazing. Les Brown, there's a lot of people who are thought leaders out there. And you touched my heart on that comment because I followed him and seen some of his work. His own journey in getting past himself was incredible. Yeah. I want to honor you, first of all, and everybody, it's a teaching moment. You started by being vulnerable and telling us about not being that great in school and some personal challenges. let's park for a minute there and go deeper. What was going on with all of that and being shy? Tell me more.
Yeah. I just didn't have a sense of what I wanted to do with my life, and everyone around me seemed to have themselves a little bit more together. They were doing well in their school grades, and I wasn't, and I didn't know why. And I figured out a lot later on that I was actually dyslexic. So I was starting
Ah,
to be labeled as stupid and things like that. And then, as you probably know, Tom, and everyone probably knows, that that doesn't just stay in the classroom, that goes outside of school as well. So I wasn't treated the kindest by my peers, put it that way. So all of that stuff weighed down on my confidence, and just having no sense of my identity as well really did bother me. And I always had, for some reason, like a sense that I was meant to do something with my life. I just didn't know what that was. And when there's that disconnect, it eats away at your self-esteem. So that's what was going on. That was the essence of the pain. And I had to take some small steps to eventually get myself out of that pain and on the right path, which I did over several years.
yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that. I mean, everybody, we've learned something new here, dyslexia. We'll talk about that a little bit more too later in the show, because I have a very interesting observation about it through friendships, and I've learned some things about myself. So thank you for doing that. And if people know anything about dyslexia, becoming Scotland's most exciting speaker and doing what you're doing, man, you're a very talented man. Uh, Before we move forward in the story, just tell us a little bit about your childhood. So your parents, you're raised by obviously a mom and dad. Uh, uh, when did you leave home? Just anything you can tell us about that to give us a
Yeah.
picture.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a single child. I do have a sister, but she never lived with us, unfortunately. And my dad, he often had to work offshore on oil rigs, so it was mostly me and my mom, to be honest with you. Most of the time growing up, but my mom's great. My mom is super supportive. She's always been in my corner the entire way. I think she was really pleased when I left at 18 years old. To have a bit of her life back, I think. So I left when I was 18, and I decided I was going to go and study psychology at a university in Glasgow, which is sort of in central Scotland for those in Canada. And that was a great move for me because it was a new environment, new place, and I learned a lot about myself over those 4 years. And one of the key things I learned, Tom, was that even though I was studying psychology, I didn't want to be a psychologist. And that's what made me start to look at different things. And that's when I initially found public speaking. I
Inter- I just want to riff on that for a minute. What was it about psychology? And by the way, you're not judging me right now, are you?
no,
what,
no, no.
what was it about that field that your brain said, yeah, I don't know if that's for me? Do you remember?
I think, I mean, I enjoyed some of the content, some of the other stuff I didn't enjoy so much. It was learning, why babies chew their thumbs, and that just didn't
Yeah.
inspire me too much. But it was also, I understood once I went into the degree that if you actually wanted to become a fully fledged psychologist, you had to do an extra 4 years on top of studying. So that's 8 years in total. And I already told you I'm not very good at academics. So I'm not doing any more than I need to here. So that was probably the main motivation for seeking another path.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. And so now we're sort of at that point in the interview, everybody, where they say, especially in some of the work I've done with the hero's journey narrative, which really my show is based on the Joseph Campbell's research, that we're all connected by a thread. And they say that human beings get to a point in their life, Kyle, where they hear this call to adventure, to go seeking and discovering. And a lot of times it happens, in my own discovery started usually when there's some pain in life. And so I would just characterize your story as classic hero's journey. There you are, challenged, quiet, shy, maybe not treated as well in school, frustrated a little bit with the learning side. And you discovered through YouTube and Les Brown and things that there's this thing I want to do, speaking. So let's get into that. Once you decided on that, what did you do?
Yeah, so it was in my final year at university. And by that point, I was realizing I better figure this out because I'm about to graduate, and then what? So I just started trying a bunch of different things, Tom, bunch of different jobs, bunch of different activities. And one of those things was going along to a speakers club, which is a bit like Toastmasters. Perhaps your audience know that organization well.
Yeah.
And what they do at these clubs is basically a group of people meeting up, practicing their public speaking outside of their work environment. And they do something there called table topics, which is when you're asked a question off the cuff with no preparation at all, and you've got to answer it in the form of a speech, a 2-minute speech with no prep at all. And
Wow.
my first ever question was, Tom, Kyle, if a zombie apocalypse happened in Glasgow, where would you go?
Okay, now you got me thinking. Where would you go in a snapshot? I got to first of all just acknowledge the thing you said about speaking clubs, Kyle. As you and I talked offline about my speaking. I call it a career now, but I was in business most of my life as a corporate exec. I spoke all over the world to small groups, some larger, in boardrooms. But I thought I was a good speaker. But honestly, my bubble burst when I did my first TED Talk and I started getting some coaching. This thing that you just said to us about table topics. I just joined a Toastmasters group. It's not a commercial for Toastmasters, but man, just finish on this. That I brought my wife to a first meeting and they threw a table topic out and talk about learning pretty quickly to be. You to be courageous. So I want to ask you a big favor to hold up this book that you have there. We want to take a look at a book that let's full screen you. Awesome. Just read the title out to us there.
It's called The 5 Pillars of Effective Public Speaking. That's the title of the book.
Amazing. All right. Thanks for holding it up. We'll everybody get that at the end, a little bit about how you can get that. But one of the things that we connected through through another connection I had. I wanted to tell people that I read your book, Kyle, and dude, so I'm a published author, and I easily read 4 books a month. I listen actually through Audible. I've listened to it multiple times, and I learned a ton from that book. It was well written. Everybody, you want to get this book, and this is how authors get known. Most people don't know us unless you're Scotland's most exciting speaker. But we want Kyle's work to get known. So get his book, give it a rating, and post it on Amazon, Goodreads. That's how people know about us. But Kyle, let's just get into the book for a minute. First of all, why did you write it? And there was something in there called SEO, and I thought, I don't want to talk about technology, but that stuck with me as one of the things I learned.
Yeah, absolutely. I probably wrote this book for the person I was when I did that first table topic, just absolutely clueless. And I wanted to have a sort of go-to guide for public speaking, which wasn't, full of fluff, which wasn't full of intangible things which I couldn't do, but had actionable things which I could do immediately. So that was the motivation for creating the book, to create a good, solid guide which would give people a foundation for their speaking. And SEO, it's not search engine optimization, but it's actually a way to remember some tips for body language. And we can go through it now if you like.
I love that, because I want to give the audience a gift here with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So SEO stands for smile, eye contact, and open. So we know that a smile is great in public speaking. We know a smile can build a rapport with the audience. But Tom, let me ask you, what do you think is the key reason we want to smile in our presentation?
To show off our nice white teeth. I don't know. First of all, connect emotionally and develop that trust rapport with the audience. I don't know. You tell me.
Because it shows that we want to be there. It shows that we want to be there. I mean, how many times do we see people present with a blank face, who like they'd rather get hit by a bus than be in the room with you, and it doesn't make you feel good as an audience.
Okay, you got me going here. I'm sorry, I riff in my head, and you'll notice I jump around just the 3-dimensional brain I have. I want to honor you. I want to share something with you that in British Columbia here, we've just gone through some incredible life events with weather, something we've never seen before, and a part of our province was destroyed by these what they call atmospheric rivers, which we've never heard about before. Just incredible rain. Anyway, there's one of the ministers in our government. They do an update every week on YouTube, and so this fella, I just wanted, because you're teaching us here, I got to tell you, Kyle, when he first came on to do the updates, from the government. I didn't like him. So he first of all, he shows up and he's got his head down. He has his mask on. He takes it off. He's got wrinkles on his brow, and he'll fix his glasses, and then he's standing there stern faced. And so this to me, from what you said, I started thinking about that. If I'm coming up to do an update for a province where people are in a state of emergency, I might want to, show that I want to be there. So carry on. SEO, we talked about the smile.
Yeah.
What else?
Absolutely. And of course, a smile, it's situational. So in that situation, probably not best to be, smiling from ear to ear about the chaos happening in the country.
But maybe the eye contact, right?
Some expression on the
Yes.
face instead of being firm all the time, and maybe a bit of moisturizer could help with that as well. But a smile really can go a long way and shows you want to be in the room. E, of course, is all about eye contact. Eye contact, it builds that trust. The question is, how long should you hold eye contact for? Because you don't want to be the person holding too much eye contact and scaring everyone away, but you don't want to be the person who is not even engaging the room either. So it's getting that right amount, which tends to be 2 to 3 seconds. That's enough time to show an audience member that you are truly seeing them, you're engaging with them, before you can move on to the next person and do the same. If you're in a physical room, of course. If it's online, it's all about making friends with a lens, with the eyes, of course, there.
Yeah, no, thank you. More teaching moments and gifts, everybody. By the way, somebody told me in Scotland, moisturizer is the foam off the Guinness. You just rub it on your forehead. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that, but that could work too. That could work too.
So SEO, what was the O for?
The O is for open body language, because what we tend to do when we get nervous, when we get anxious, is we minimize. We make ourselves as small as possible. It starts with our feet. They get really narrow. Then our head tucks in. Even our hands come across the midsection. We're protecting ourselves because we feel under threat. And often we don't even realize we're doing this. But what it communicates subconsciously to your audience, Tom, is that you are unsure of yourself. And if you seem unsure of yourself, then whatever information you're sharing is probably not going to be received as strongly as it should be by your audience. So what we want to try and do is the opposite, right? We want to get our feet shoulder width apart, not stretching the fabric too much, of course, if you're wearing jeans, getting the shoulders back, head held up high, and using the hands to gesture if possible, rather than holding them together. So then you're more open and welcoming to the audience and looking more confident as a result.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Thank you. So SEO, and as I said, that book, it stuck with me. And I remember just right after I listened to that part, literally going and finding my stance and getting that down, right, and making that. Tell us about Zoom. Here we are on, the world's changed and we're on video, and of course, you can't see your hands, but I do intentional body language when I'm on Zoom. How do you adapt in SEO when you're on something like this platform?
Yeah, well, obviously half your body has been cut off, right? No one knows what's going on with your feet, which has its benefits, of course. I've done a few presentations barefoot. I will admit it. But of course, what we need to think mostly about here, and this is the key thing, is making eye contact with a lens. It is amazing to me, astonishing, that so many people are still looking at their screen, like I am now, instead of their camera. Because as soon as I look at my screen, it creates a real disconnect for my audience. I'm not looking at you anymore. I'm looking at myself. I need to be looking into the lens, so I'm looking into the eyes of my virtual audience. And you've also got to be aware of your square, of your frame, and how far, if your gestures go too far, that's not any use. They've got to be in the frame. So you've got to know the limits. And that's just going to come from practice and feeling the environment that you are in, of course. And if I could say one more thing, I would say keep this window that you're in as active as you possibly can, because the more still and stagnant it becomes, the less engaging it will be for the audience. So try and keep it active with your gestures, with your body language, with your passion and enthusiasm.
Yeah, I have to acknowledge, I mean, I know you know this, but your eye contact is brilliant. That's the thing that especially when I'm doing podcasting or interviews, not everybody's setup has the camera at the right level, but, a little bit of practice and adjustment, you can get it there. Let's talk about, I really want to hear about tone of voice, because one thing that I hear you do really well, and everybody, when you get Kyle's book, and if you listen to the audiobook, is you have a very good way of making your voice sound not monotone or boring, which quite frankly is how I have spoken most of my life until I learned about this. Tell us a bit about that, because honestly, I think it's a point of fear for a lot of people, because we sound the way we sound. So what are you talking about? Now I got to learn to speak all over. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, well, the crazy thing is you don't have to learn to speak all over again. You really don't.
Ah,
Because the reality is, in a normal conversation, let's say with your friends, when you're having a good time, your tonality, your voice is varying all the time because you're having fun and you're not even thinking about it. But it's when you stand up on a stage, that's when things get a little bit scary. That's when you doubt yourself. And that's when you seem really stiff and monotone with your voice, like I am right now. So it's more about being relaxed when you are up there. But it can be helpful still to know the techniques and then begin to deliberately implement them when you're speaking. So I'm going to give you another acronym to think about today, everyone. This one is called TTV, and that stands firstly for tonality. Tonality. And tonality is the way you say something. For example, Tom, do you have a wife? Do you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend? Have you
yeah.
got a partner?
Yeah, I got to make it clear. I have a wife. I don't have a girlfriend.
Okay. Yeah, definitely make that clear. Definitely make that clear. Has your wife ever said to you, when you've asked her, how you doing, has she ever said to you, I'm fine, Tom? Has she ever
Yes.
said it like that?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Does she say it every day?
Huh?
Does she
Does
say
she?
it every day?
Does she? She tends to respond that way, very short to the point. Or I'll say, "How's your day going?" And or "How was your day?" And it was fine.
Yeah, right. So you know, even though her words fine, that means everything's good. You know it's not fine, right? You know
That's right. That's
sometimes
right.
it might be the furthest thing from fine, and that's tonality in a nutshell. It's the meaning behind the words, and we can actually learn how to use our tonality strategically to sound more confident, to create mystery with our voice, to create excitement and passion. There's a range of different things we can do with that. The other T is tempo. Tempo is what it says on the tin. It's the speed at which you speak at. You've got
Yeah.
two options here. You can either speed things up if you want to. That can be really good if you want to lift the energy off the room, or you can slow things down when you come to a key point. And a pause can be really powerful too. And then V in TTV stands for volume, how high or low you speak. Speaking loud can be great for grabbing attention, and speaking lower is great for drawing in attention. So you have these tools available, and what's important is to pick and choose the ones which work for you and slowly begin to implement them in your presentations.
Oh, I love that. I want to honor that again as a teaching moment, everybody. So TTV, come back and watch this part of the episode, or get Kyle's book. Kyle, can you hold that book up again, everybody? We're talking to Kyle Murtagh, the author
Yeah.
of.
So I should mention actually, with the 5 pillars, we've covered a bit of the content of 2 of them so far. The first pillar being body language. So SEO is explained in a lot more depth, and TTV is the next pillar, voice. And a lot of techniques explained in a heck of a lot more depth there as well. So yeah, that's 2 out of 5 little tasters there.
Yeah, the 5 pillars of effective public speaking, everybody. It's a great book. I've listened to the audiobook, and I'll be surprising you, Kyle. Well, I guess cat's out of the bag with a public review on that. But the TTV thing, I just want to riff on that for a minute with you, that I'm being vulnerable here, and I'm doing it not for any other reason, but to prove to people that, hey, to get to that level of bringing your true personality out, you have to receive feedback, and sometimes it's not always easy to hear. When I was rehearsing for being coached for my TED Talk, this is a real line from my coach. Now, of course, I'm going to put it out of context, but Tom, you're boring and you're stoic. I mean, there were other things that, and here's the thing is, that's not the first time I've been told that, because I'm soft spoken and I can be monotone. My personality type in a personality assessment I use and I teach is called Blue. I'm about intimacy, but I've struggled with this tonality thing because it's not naturally. I've also struggled with being soft spoken. So just give me a nugget on that. If somebody's soft spoken, how you say do practice, but what am I going to do? Am I going to record myself, listen to it back, listen to it back? Is there vocal? Like, tell me what you would do.
Yeah, well, what's really important, Tom, and thank you for raising that point there, is that you don't get you don't get too caught up in it that you end up speaking like someone else.
Yes.
Because that's your style, right? You're soft spoken. And that has a lot of powerful qualities in it. I mean, that's a very relatable tone which people can have. People feel relaxed when they listen to you. So those are all things we want to preserve and keep. It's just a case of maybe adding one or two little things to spice it up a little bit. And for example, that could be volume. It could be adding some little spikes of volume in to your presentation now and again. And just a small change like that can go a long way. And what I'd recommend doing, next presentation, aim to use volume a little bit more. Make that your goal. Get it recorded if you possibly can, and then watch that recording back. And you can be able to identify yourself whether you're able to implement that technique successfully, whether it's working for you, whether it's coming across natural enough for you too, whether it's fitting with your personality. And then you can choose from there whether you keep it or you discard it going forward. And of course, if you can get feedback from anyone else, that's even better too, because we are our own worst critic.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to take that point and just share with you again something. We're into storytelling here, everybody. That when I was again being coached to do a TED Talk in 2020, I guess I got to a point in the coaching where my coach sort of stopped and said, like, you got to stop that. And what it was, Kyle, is all my life I've been searching for really the real Tom. And I had created this avatar, this persona, this person that I thought other people wanted to see. And some of it was mired deeply in my self worth thought patterns. I didn't think that people liked the way I talked, or I didn't think that I looked good even on camera. And so I was doing what you said not to do. I was copying. So, for example, Les Brown, I listened to him walking through the woods here because I do a lot of hiking. And all of a sudden, I'm finding myself trying to infuse Les Brown into my talk. And I'm going, so what happened was, and I'll finish with this on the story, that they told us to go out to local communities and speak to groups. So I have a friend who got me into a college classroom. And I said, you take your iPhone and tape me. And so I was to rehearse my talk, right? My TED Talk, no cards or anything. And he accidentally turned the video on 5 minutes before I talked, and he recorded it all. And I sent that to my coach. Right away, I got this call from my coach, and she said, did you watch that? And I said, yeah. I said, I'm still trying to figure it out, how not to be, and what's the real, she said, watch the beginning 5 minutes. That's the real Tom. And Kyle, it changed my life, because what the first 5 minutes was what you just taught us. That was actually really me.
Yeah.
And it's how I showed up all my life. And people tell me that they like that side of Tom. I just had to develop some other things with my confidence, my facial expressions. I don't naturally smile. These muscles get sore when they work. So what you'll probably find is, and maybe to a flaw sometimes, when I'm actually doing my show now and I find myself go in the kitchen cooking and doing things I love, I got this smile on my face. But if you watch some of my first podcasts, I wasn't smiling.
Yeah.
So I love you, man, and I love your story for teaching us that you've got to practice. I want to ask you another question, and then we'll move back in the story a bit. I want to talk about dyslexia with you, and that is, all right, you are Scotland's most exciting speaker. Congratulations on the 2021 European, and I'm sure at the wrap up you'll tell us what comes next. The most average people in the world either will or won't go for achieving like that. Sometimes we stand in our way. So why read your book? Why learn to develop your speaking? Why? And I read something in your book that just stopped me. And I've been telling my corporate buddies about it. You said that one of the skills, you can tell us, but something about one of the skills to be successful in business is speaking. It's everywhere in our life, but I just want you to talk about that. Why do we care?
Well, I think we should all care about public speaking presentation skills because it's the hardest form of communication, one of the hardest forms of communication, at least. And the incredible thing is, if you can become comfortable in that storm of presenting, right? If you can become grounded, if you can begin to enjoy your presentations, that confidence, that enjoyment will filter down to all other forms of communication that you face in your life, whether it be sitting at the family table this Christmas, or whether it be in a meeting, in a sales meeting, networking, interviews. All of these things become a lot easier when you become comfortable public speaker. And that's what I began to realize. The more I did this, the more I spoke in public, I loved the energy that I was
Yeah.
feeling. I felt like I was finding myself every time I stood up and speak. I was finding my confidence, and I just kind of got sucked into it, Tom, and kept presenting and presenting because I just frankly love it. If I had to choose one thing that I would do and I couldn't do anything else in my life, it would be public speaking. So that's probably what drives me to go on and do these things like the book, the competitions, all the other stuff, because this is what I love to my core, my friend.
Well, that's awesome, and I appreciate you saying that, because everybody, it's another teaching moment to me. That, and going back to the hero's journey, sometimes it's a gut punch that you have in life, like you told us about your being shy and dealing with dyslexia and struggles to learn as you were growing up. For me, my gut punch was I didn't think I looked good enough, and I had self-doubt issues. And isn't it true, Kyle? I've met so many people that when they find that little thing that that causes them pain, it's like a chip on their shoulder, and it drives them, and it drives you through it. And you take that and you say, you know what? That's the reason why I'm going to master this, because I'm going to do all these things that you said. But for me, it's about conquering my own wolves or voices in my head. And so I want to just finish with this comment, because I loved what you said, that now when I show up, even at the dinner table, or I show up even on the phone, or I show up doing the podcast here, dude, I literally am the same all the time. So it's not an act. And I guess before I want to get back into the dyslexia conversation, I just thought about that now. Give us some advice on what you do to make it conversational, so it doesn't appear to be a performance, because that's not always easy.
Yeah, it's not. It's the classic conflict between being conversational, being really natural, and then all of the delivery stuff that we spoke about. I mean, maybe some people listen to SEO, TTV, and they think that's not me. And here's the thing, right? It's important to be conversational. It's important to be yourself. We've explored that already. It's also important to make it an exciting conversation. And that's when some of the techniques come in. If I was to give you some advice on how to make sure you're conversational when you're speaking, then make sure you're using the words you would use in a conversation, right? Pretend that the audience is your friends. Pretend that your audience is your close friends, and that will bring more of your conversational nature out as a result. So that's the best advice I would give you. Pretend the audience are your friends and just flow with it. Do not overthink. Let things be, because that's you coming out naturally.
That's a great. Everybody, come back and listen to that teaching moment here. Pretend your audience are your friends. We can use that skill at Christmas when our in-laws come over too. That might help us deal with some of that stress that comes this time of year. But pretend your audience are your friends, and I'll just finish on this again on that one of the hardest things for me was, after speaking the way I did all my life, it was trying to make some adjustments to be better, but trying to stay conversational. And when I started recording and watching back, that really was the fix for me, because I started observing and seeing. The other thing I want to share with you, just to tell the audience my development, was I would watch my talk back with the sound off, watch my body language, then I would turn the sound on, close my eyes, and then I would just really in my head just try to see, is everything lining up? If I'm saying yes and my head's doing this, but we don't catch that unless we do either have a coach or self-tape ourselves.
Absolutely. If I could add one more thing into that, and that's great. Watch yourself back, see if there's incongruencies. It really is important there as well. But also a good marker to know whether you're being conversational enough is ask yourself, if I was delivering this presentation to my parents, to the people that I used to go to school with, right, to people at work, would it be different? As in, would I still be comfortable delivering this presentation to them? Because if the answer is no, because you think you look silly in front of those other people, it probably means you're being too much in terms of the drama, the dramatics, the being over the top. So make sure that it's a presentation you'd be comfortable delivering to anyone. That's when you know you'll be conversational enough.
Well, I appreciate that, and it's a good thing you clarify that. Sometimes we as teachers, and I teach as well or coach, we use words, language, and you say conversational, and I want you to picture somebody has a sign on their head. It's flashing, "I'm confused." And so you draw a picture for me. What does conversational mean? And you did a great job. So thank you. I I want to surprise you here because I didn't tell you about this, but I have a cameo, a guest who's going to come on for just a few minutes to meet you. And
Great.
and I'll explain when I bring her on. I'll introduce her why we're meeting, and we're just going to riff for a couple minutes. Don't worry, it's not your in-laws or anybody like that. So let me just bring them on. Hopefully they can unmute their mics as they're coming on the screen there. All right, there we have. Welcome, Sue.
Hi, Tom. Oh, am I
You're
in the shot?
Yep, you're good. Everybody,
Excellent.
Kyle, I want to introduce you to Sue Blythe Hall. Sue Hall and I have known each other for some time. Sue, this is just a cameo. We caught you just for a few minutes here. But everybody, I just want to introduce Sue's background. She is the founder of I'm going to get this right this time, the whole Dyslexic Society. And you had made a big announcement recently, Sue, about dyslexia. The first universal symbol, the gift of dyslexia. Just tell us in a minute about that, and then I'm going to just get Kyle into the conversation.
Okay. Well, thank you, Tom, very much. First of all, thank you for being here. It's lovely to meet you, Kyle. I thoroughly enjoyed your talk to the TED Master Group. And I just want to tell you that now I am 100% self-conscious. I'm not going to use my hands enough. I'm not going to use tone enough. I'm very dyslexic. I have very difficult time remembering anything. And the TED Talk for me was a real test of so many things, because we have to memorize all the words. And when I'm speaking off the cuff, great, right? That's not a problem. But when I have to memorize and get it word perfect, that was a complete challenge for me. So I would love to have a session with you and do all. I really would. I'm up for tuition. But the thing that I'm passionate about is making sure that everybody knows the reason we have these challenges is a result of a gift. And we have this natural ability to alter our perception. Everything stems from that, the challenges and the talents. And my purpose that I'm lucky to have is to make sure that everybody realizes that there's nothing wrong with them. We're used to hearing there's something wrong with our thinking process. It's not true. We have a perfectly adequate, brilliant, wonderful thinking process. We just have to make some adjustments to the education system. So that's why I'm here.
Sue, before I give it to Kyle to just say anything he wants before we let you go, I just wanted to acknowledge everyone that when I learned about the gift of dyslexia and that there is I have some of that as well, and it's really that there's nothing wrong with us. It's just that we learn in a very different way. Kyle, I just want to get you to chime in here, man. You were open and honest about having the dyslexia growing up, and there was some shame and vulnerability around it. Just anything you want to say to Sue about the work she's doing or your own journey through it.
Yeah. Well, firstly, Sue, great to see you again, and I applaud you for the work you're doing. And I love the word gift, because it is a gift. It is an opportunity where we're able to see things from a different perspective because we're dyslexic. And that really is great. And it might mean, yeah, you're not too good at reading or writing or spelling, but guess what? There is something you are good at, probably better than most people at. And you've just got to try and find that and really breathe air into your gift.
Kyle, before we say goodbye to Sue, I just wanted to ask you about when you discovered about dyslexia yourself and what Sue was just saying about remembering and memorizing. Are there any nuggets you can give us in terms of how you navigate through that?
Well, everybody's different, right? Everybody's different. For me, I do actually memorize quite a lot of things, and I do that through simple reps. Just doing it again and again and again, probably more than most people have to do it. And that does help embed things for me, whether it be a speech or back in the day, exams, right? I used to do questions after questions after questions in preparation for the questions in the actual examination. So reps were the key for me, Tom. That's what's always been a golden nugget for myself.
That's awesome. Hey, Sue, any last words for Kyle? And then I'm going to just plug you where people can get a hold of you, because I think this topic is a mission we're all connected to.
Yes,
Sue?
I just like to say that obviously reps are the thing that we have to go to when we don't know what else to do. But in actual fact, we are perfectly capable of reading and spelling and writing and all those things if we learn how to do it our way. So this is Kyle. I'm just going to publicly ask if we can have a Zoom today. Sorry, a Zoom Monday. I would love to give you a quick snapshot into how we are totally capable of doing everything everybody else can do. And thank you, Tom, so much.
Thank you, Sue, and Kyle. Thanks for letting me have Sue on. Sue, before I let you go, everybody, Sue Hall, you can Google and find her TED Talk and learn more about that. And Kyle, after I met Sue, I hopped on a Zoom, and there was no obligations, and I just listened and learned some things. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Hopefully you two will connect and spend a bit of time, but a pleasure having you on, Sue, and thank you for the great work you're doing. Goodbye.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
All right, I'm just gonna say goodbye to Sue. She can stay in the green room and watch us. Kyle, thank you for letting me bring Sue on. The reason for doing that is when I learned about your navigation through dyslexia and just how incredibly good you are at speaking, I went, wow. And part of my show is for people. There's a lot of people who will watch this who have dyslexia. I know many that by hearing you and actually saying that's what it looks like to be great, and then hearing Sue who talks about the other side of it, I think we're going to inspire a lot of people. So that's awesome. Let's get back to that book, and I've got a couple things I want to honor you with here as we move to wrapping up. First of all, hold up that book again. If we're talking to Kyle Murtagh, the writer of the book. Tell us the title again.
The 5 pillars of effective public speaking. So the 5 key skills which all great speakers have.
And thank you. I'm going to bring myself back into the picture here. We can't tell that you're proud of that book with that big smile that comes on your face every time you hold it. Isn't it something when you become an author, you get to change the world? One of the things I loved about the book was it was pretty cool at the end of each section, and even the audiobook is what I listened to. You have us doing things, which is brilliant. You had me afterwards taking just nuggets like SEO, which we talked about earlier, everybody. You had me actually pausing and going in, okay, get in my stance, my smile. So I think that builds skills. So it's a book, everybody, that's highly valuable. There was one other thing you were kept saying. Can you just comment about the post on LinkedIn thing?
Yeah. So the whole idea was I wanted people to make sure that they were taking action after each chapter, because that's how we can judge the success of any form of communication, whether it be a presentation, a book, a video you watch. Do you take action afterwards or not? That's how we judge whether it's a success, ruthlessly, if you want to do it that way. So yeah, I was trying to encourage people to take action and also keep people accountable. And if they want to share the actions that they take, there's a hashtag out there, hashtag 5 pillars of public speaking, which you can type in, and you'll see some other people who are also taking small little steps, small actions towards becoming better speakers. So just a way for others to become inspired at the same time and be held accountable if they want to.
I really like that. I've seen a lot of books. I haven't seen that done that way before. And it was really, I said to myself, that's a great idea. Because a lot of times authors or people who write have communities and, join my community and everybody talk and I'll answer questions. Everybody, you can literally post, if you're on LinkedIn, post a comment with the hashtag attached, and Kyle will get on there and he'll add comments. And what I'll
give you an evaluation.
Yeah, and I'm going to do that. What I also find from that is, because if everybody knows the platform of LinkedIn, we follow our feed, so people are going to learn from that, and it's going to catch on. You'll be teaching everybody at different times. I want to honor you with a surprise a review for your book, and so everybody get Kyle's book, give it a review, and post it on Amazon or Goodreads. We'll put that in the show notes. But this is how authors get known, right, Kyle? Is we want people to write something to us about our book. So I'm going to show you something, and we'll just have some fun. There it is, your first international Canadian 5-star review. That was posted. You can see down there December 2021 on Amazon. And just to prove that, there's the screenshot of Amazon. And I bought the book, Kyle, just so it shows as a verified purchase. And so we're just going to take that away. And well, at this point in the show, we're excited. We're going to have some fireworks. So congratulations. I mean, people can go and to Amazon, read my review, but I just love you, man, and what you're doing. And I hope everybody checks out that book.
Yeah, well, let me firstly say, Tom, thank you so much for taking the time out to do that, to leave a review. You're absolutely right. That's really how our books gain momentum, by people leaving reviews, sharing what their honest opinions are. So I can't thank you enough for that. It's very kind of you.
You're welcome. And so I was reading somewhere in your page, like, what's next? So what's that next thing for you? What's 2022? Is there something that we should expect to talk about?
Yeah, in terms of public speaking, probably the biggest accolade people will be interested in will be becoming the world champion of
Wow.
public speaking. That's my goal. That's what I'm trying to accomplish. Last year, I made it to the semifinals, the last 28 out of about 30,000 competitors. This year, I'm wanting to go further and hopefully get the world title. It's a beautiful journey. It's been something I've been trying to do for about 5 years. Every year I've got a little bit closer, so hopefully I can make that final step this time.
Well, listen, if there's anything we know, if you've worked through and understanding dyslexia and how to master that gift and gotten to where I see you are, I think you can do anything you want, man. You have such courage. I believe in you. I do want to know, though, after you achieve that, just how much the Scottish accent weighed on that, because then I'll start learning to speak a little like you. if that's a requirement, I'm never going to get up there unless I learn. You may not know this, but I was born in the UK on a military base. My father was in the British forces, and we have these little reel-to-reel tapes when we came to Canada, and I had a very thick English accent, and I'm just still trying to find that. So I can learn to speak like you if I have to. I want to honor you with one more thing before we wrap up here. Let you have the last word. I'm going to full screen myself to do this. There I am. Everybody, you'll see in the back of the screen there's this image of it's called a challenge coin. And Kyle, I'll bring you back on. The front of that is handcrafted and painted raised letters. That's the image of the show and its purpose. By receiving this award, you commit to staying with that purpose you've developed through your work, taking action and finding that life and you deserve, and teaching others to do the same. The back of it is actually the visual of the hero's journey narrative by Joseph Campbell, which is a big part of our lives and the threads we're connected. These are called challenge coins, developed in World War II, and they originated there. If you were in my platoon, maybe if you didn't have yours, you'd buy drinks or we'd have fun. But it was to commit community to each other. And these are used around the world by many organizations, first responders. My father was in Alcoholics Anonymous. They have their own version. When I started the show, I wanted to have an award so that a very select few people, less than 50 a year, will receive it, because not everybody can come on and leave their ego at the door and actually show that their true self. So by receiving it, you're connected around the world now. I think we're in about 17 countries, to all the quiet warriors that have emerged through my show. So congratulations, Kyle.
Well, thank you. I feel honored. I mean, fireworks, they are needed.
So we'll work that out offline about how to get that to you. And I'm looking forward to standing on a stage beside you or meeting you at some point in the future. You're just been a blessing. The last 4 words I have for you before you wrap this up. I write these down when you're speaking. I don't script them. People know this. These are leadership words. The first one is courage. Man, you are courage. 2 is leader, and I find you a role model in that you keep it simple and I can follow you. 3 is fun. It's that engaging side of you that makes me want to be with you. And the last one came out of the book Outliers, that by Malcolm Gladwell, and that's the word maven. And everybody, a maven is somebody who is in the world, and you say, if I want to know how to learn to be a better speaker, who do I go to? And Kyle, I see you as a maven. So congratulations. And last word to you. Tell us where to get a hold of your book yourself, and the last words.
Absolutely. If anyone is interested in learning a bit more about the book, it is available on Amazon, all Amazons, whether you're in Amazon Canada.com, UK, it's available on there, and you can get it in ebook, audiobook, or even paperback form if you are old school. And thank you so much for those kind words there, Tom. I would use very similar ones in describing yourself, my friend. But what I will end on, just for anyone listening out there who perhaps is struggling a little bit with their speaking, perhaps doesn't feel like they have the confidence to stand up there at this moment in time, just take some small steps. Your first time does not have to be your best time. It probably will not be your best time, but over time, with taking small steps, little action every week to become a little bit better in your speaking, you will be blown away by how far you will go. You will make a marathon's worth of progress if you are consistent and persistent with your speaking. And then what does that leave you? Well, it leaves you with a lifetime skill, which will serve you to the end of your days. So keep going with your speaking if you're on the edge right now.
All right, that's fantastic. Thank you, Kyle, and we'll have you back again just to catch up, maybe in 2022, see where we're at. And everybody, the teaching moment and what Kyle just said, and I'll leave this with you, is that there are a few things I believe a thought leader needs to have, and thought leaders are storytellers. But everybody, no matter who you are, you have something worth sharing. You have something to help other people improve their lives, and by speaking and communicating, that's the gift that we have to do that. So check out Kyle Murtagh. Kyle, thanks again for being on the show, man.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Wouldn't miss it for the world.
All right. Everybody, find that true purpose and passion like you hear from Kyle. Keep moving forward and live the life that you deserve and desire. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you for listening to The Quiet Warrior Show. Create is a motive-based leadership development firm. www.kreat.ca